In 1571, a devastating plague struck the Yucatan people, leaving many sick and dying. As the disease spread, hope began to fade until one man discovered a miraculous plant. He shared the plant with others, and they consumed it, hoping for a cure. However, to their surprise, the plant turned them blue and made it impossible for them to breathe air. Desperate, the people of the Yucatan moved to the ocean, where they adapted to their new underwater existence and built a new civilization they called Tolokan. Among those who ingested the plant was a woman who later gave birth to a son whom she named Kukulkan. Kukulkan grew up to become a powerful leader and eventually the ruler of Tolokan. However, when his mother, Fen, died, she requested to be buried on the land, a place where Kukulkan had never been before. Determined to fulfill his mother's wishes, Kukulkan led a group of guards to the land, where they discovered a thriving civilization. However, instead of peacefully negotiating for a spot to bury his mother, Kukulkan and his guards attacked the village, clearing the way for his mother's burial. The villagers, horrified by Kukulkan's ruthless behavior, began to call him Namor, meaning the boy without love. Despite the name, Kukulkan continued to rule Tolokan with an iron fist, leading his people to greatness but with a dark shadow of violence and conquest. Shuri was working diligently in her lab, tirelessly trying to create an artificial heart-shaped herb that could save her brother T'Challa, who was dying of a mysterious illness. As the days passed, Shuri worked around the clock, determined to find a solution that could cure her beloved brother. Suddenly, Ramonda, the Queen of Wakanda, walked into the lab, looking somber and exhausted. With a heavy heart, she delivered the news that T'Challa had passed away. Shuri was devastated, but she knew she had to continue working to protect her people and honor her brother's legacy. A year later, Wakanda was facing new challenges. Other nations were coveting their precious vibranium, and tensions were high. The Dora Milaje, Wakanda's elite female warriors, caught French military men attempting to steal from their outpost. Ramonda knew they had to act quickly to protect their resources and their people. She spoke to the United Nations, reminding them of the threat of theft and the importance of respecting Wakanda's sovereignty. She also made it clear that even though the Black Panther was gone, they would still fight to protect their land and their people. With Ramonda's leadership and the determination of the Wakandan people, they were able to repel the threat and continue to thrive. T'Challa may have been gone, but his spirit lived on through his people and his sister's dedication to their cause. At the mining outpost in the ocean, the Americans using Riri Williams' vibranium detector to locate the valuable resource suddenly find themselves under attack by the Talokanils who do not want their vibranium to be stolen. The Americans are caught off guard and struggle to defend themselves against the skilled and fierce attackers. Eventually, the last remaining helicopter of survivors is struck down by Namor, leaving no one alive. In Wakanda, Ramonda and Shuri go to the water to mourn the year since T'Challa's passing. They burn their funeral garments as a symbol of the end of the mourning period, although Shuri is not entirely ready to let go. Suddenly, Namor appears out of nowhere, having entered Wakanda's borders by going underwater. He reveals the existence of Talokan and asks for their help to stop foreigners from taking vibranium, pointing out that Talokan also has the valuable resource. However, Ramonda is wary of Namor's presence and tells him to go, unsure of his motives. But Namor insists that he needs their help to stop the scientist who made the vibranium detector, whom he plans to kill. He tells them that they can assist him, but they cannot get in his way. The situation becomes even more complicated, and Wakanda finds itself facing a dangerous new threat that could jeopardize its security and the legacy of the Black Panther. Shuri and Okoye make their way to meet Everett Ross to get information on the young scientist they need to find. Despite potential privacy concerns, Ross provides them with the name and location. Shuri and Okoye then travel to Cambridge, Massachusetts to locate Riri Williams. They eventually find her in her dorm. She takes them to her garage, where she is working on an Iron Man-like armor. However, their meeting is cut short when they are suddenly followed by the FBI. The trio manages to escape, with Okoye driving a car, Shuri on a motorcycle, and Williams in her armor. Their escape is short-lived, as they are soon ambushed by the Talokanils, led by Atuma and Namora. A brief skirmish breaks out, but it ends with Shuri and Williams being captured by their enemies. Ross arrives at the scene of the previous day's events and meets with his ex-wife, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. After finding the Kimoyo beads, he decides to hide them. In Wakanda, Queen Ramonda is infuriated with Okoye for losing Shuri and fires her from her position as general. This reprimand is made worse by previous incidents, such as when Okoye seemingly sided with Killmonger when he usurped the throne. Meanwhile, Shuri and Williams wake up in Talokan, where Namor shows Shuri around the civilization and tries to convince her of his ideals. He even gives her his mother's bracelet as a gift. However, Shuri disagrees with Namor's plan to kill Williams. In the meantime, Ramonda goes to Haiti to seek out Nakia, who had left Wakanda 6 years prior. She asks Nakia to help find Shuri, and Nakia agrees to help. After doing some spying, Nakia figures out the location of Shuri and Williams. She then breaks them out of Talokan. Ramonda meets with Namor and talks to him about his plan. She tells him that Wakanda will not support it and that they will defend their resources. Namor leaves, acknowledging that they will be enemies. Shuri and Williams return to Wakanda, where Ramonda apologizes to Okoye and reinstates her as general. As Namor and his army invade Wakanda, chaos and destruction reign over the once peaceful land. Wakandans fight fiercely, but they are no match for the Atlanteans, who flood the city and disable all the vehicles. During the battle, Ramonda and Williams find themselves trapped in the throne room, with water quickly rising around them. Ramonda, determined to save the young scientist, swims with all her might to get her to safety, but she tragically drowns in the process. Shuri, devastated by her mother's passing, mourns her loss as Namor approaches her and reveals that she is now the Queen of Wakanda. He and his people then leave the country, leaving behind a broken and grieving nation. Meanwhile, Ross' ex-wife, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, discovers his communication with Wakanda and has him arrested. The once loyal ally of Wakanda is now deemed a traitor, leaving the country even more isolated and vulnerable in the face of external threats. After a year of hard work, Shuri had finally done it. She had used Namor's mother's bracelet to create the artificial heart-shaped herb that she hoped would save her brother and the people of Wakanda. Excited but nervous, she took the herb and felt her body change as she was transported to the astral plane. There, she was greeted by Eric Killmonger, a cousin, who claimed they were the same. Shuri argued with him, but he didn't listen. Instead, he revealed his true intentions of taking the throne and avenging his father's death. Shuri was shaken but resolute. She knew she had to protect her family and her country. She told Killmonger that she was going to kill Namor out of revenge. It was a bold statement, but one she knew she had to make. Suddenly, Shuri woke up, feeling empowered and ready to fight. She made herself a suit, one that would help her become the Black Panther. She dropped into a meeting between M'Baku and the elders, surprising them all. But she didn't let that faze her. She knew what she had to do. With determination in her heart and strength in her limbs, Shuri stood tall as the Black Panther. She was ready to protect Wakanda at all costs, even if it meant fighting her own family. Shuri sets off to find Namor, but before she can do so, she is confronted by Nakia, who tells her that revenge is not the way. She reminds Shuri that Wakanda needs a leader, not a vigilante. Shuri didn't listen to her and proceeds with her plan. As the battle rages on, Williams, Riri, and Namor engage in a fierce aerial combat. Using her suit's advanced technology, Riri is able to keep up with Namor's speed and agility. Meanwhile, the Dora Milaje, the Jabari tribe, and Nakia continue to fight off the Talokanils on the vessel. Ironheart and the Midnight Angels use their suit's advanced weaponry to take out the airborne Talokanils. Anika and Okoye, with their new armor, prove to be a formidable duo as they take out wave after wave of enemies. Black Panther had successfully trapped Namor in the Royal Talon fighter and began to heat up the ship. It weakened Namor, but he still managed to break free using his spear. Black Panther quickly shot a blast from her vibranium gauntlets, exploding the entire ship and sending the two adversaries plummeting onto the island below. The two continued to fight fiercely, and at one point, Namor impaled Shuri. Despite being injured, Black Panther broke free and stood in front of Namor, who was limping towards the water. Black Panther yelled, "Wakanda Forever," as she armored up and sent a blast from the exploding Talon fighter towards Namor. He was set ablaze and collapsed to the ground. Black Panther stood over Namor, ready to finish him off. Despite the anger and desire for revenge she had towards Namor, she decides to spare his life if he returns to Talokan. She helps him up and they both make their way to the shoreline. Namor has gratitude for the Black Panther and joins her as they return to the fight scene and tell everyone to stop fighting. Black Panther then yells, "Wakanda Forever," once again as the rest repeat it back. In the aftermath, Williams returns to MIT without her armor as the Wakandans do not want any controversy with letting her keep it. The next day, a ceremony is held to honor the fallen Wakandans. As they are waiting for the princess, M'Baku shows up to challenge for the throne. Shuri leaves for Haiti instead of challenging for the throne, which ultimately is challenged by M'Baku. Later, Namor paints in his room as a tumor greets him. Namor assures her that their new alliance with Wakanda will be beneficial. While being transported to prison, Ross unexpectedly encounters Okoye, who engineers his escape from custody. Shuri arrives in Haiti and meets with Nakia. Shuri then heads to the beach, carrying Ramonda's ceremonial robe. She sits down and starts a fire, placing the robe on it. As it burns, she finally allows herself to grieve for T'Challa, her mother, and everything that has happened. As the flames die down, Shuri looks out at the ocean, contemplating her next move. She knows that Wakanda needs a strong leader, but she's not sure if she's ready for that responsibility yet. In a mid-credits scene, Shuri is seen sitting by the fire at the ocean when Nakia arrives. Nakia introduces him as Toussaint and reveals that he is T'Challa's son, whom she has been raising in secret far from the pressure of the throne. Shuri is surprised and asks about his Wakandan name. Toussaint replies that it is also T'Challa. Lessons that one can learn from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Responsibility comes with power. As a leader, one has a responsibility to take care of their people and make decisions that benefit the greater good. Shuri recognizes this and strives to do what is best for their country. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe for more.